Small, but not silly. What I really respect about the Dolphin Surf, and this says a lot about how well BYD understands the needs of real people, is that it never forgets it's a car. That might sound odd, but in a world where many EVs behave more like giant tablets on wheels or Silicon Valley experiments, the Dolphin Surf stays rooted in the basics. Be comfortable, be cheap to run, and just work. And work it does. It doesn't try to wow you with ridiculous 0 to 60 speeds or an app that tells you your tire pressure via an emoji. Instead, it gives you what matters: a decent ride, seats that don't make your back cry, enough space for shopping and kids, and all the daily gear you expect in 2025, like reversing cameras, proper sensors, even a smart energy management system that learns how you drive. BYD hasn't tried to reinvent the wheel here. They've just put 4 of them under a tidy, cheerful-looking hatchback and said, "Here. You'll like this." And they're right. Built to drive, not to show off. Now don't misunderstand. The Dolphin Surf isn't going to be the car you take to the Nürburgring. But it doesn't pretend to be. What it offers is confidence. That's something we don't talk about enough with cars in this segment. You feel at ease behind the wheel. The steering is light but not vague. The suspension deals with potholes and speed humps like a champ. There's a sense of dignity to how it behaves, whether you're in a Tesco car park or coasting down the dual carriageway on adaptive cruise. And the turning circle? Superb. Genuinely one of the best I've felt in a long time. Tight little London backstreets, awkward drive-through lanes, multi-story car parks. The Dolphin Surf glides through it all with barely a wiggle. A touch of quality where IT counts. You won't find walnut wood or hand-stitched leather, but that's fine. In fact, that's better. What you do get are solid plastics, fabric that won't wear thin after a couple of winters, and that vegan leather that feels a bit like the old Volvo upholstery, sturdy, warm, unfussy. The sort of stuff you don't have to mollycoddle. Spill your Costa on the center console? No big deal. Wipe it down and on you go. And as for the rotating touchscreen, I'll admit, I raised an eyebrow. Gimmick, I thought. But it's not. You can actually rotate it between portrait and landscape depending on whether you're navigating long distances or just want to scroll through DB stations. It's not just clever. It's useful. And unlike some rivals, the screen's response is sharp and quick. BYD didn't skimp on the tech internals. Quiet, but not dull. Something that'll strike you straight away is how quiet it is. Not EV silent in a sterile way. More like serene. There's soundproofing. Proper insulation. Hankook tires that don't hum like a mosquito. Even the little electric motor seems to purr rather than whine. It's calm. That's good for your nerves. And when you do need a bit of urgency, the Dolphin Surf doesn't hang about. The active version has decent zip, nippy enough for city traffic, quick off the mark at roundabouts, and absolutely fine for 99% of journeys. If you want a little more muscle, the Boost model's 0 to 60 time is under 7 seconds. Not bad for a car costing just over 22 grand. It reminds me of the early Ford Fiestas. Light, simple, fun. Not soulless and overloaded. That's rare these days. Smart inside and out. BYD's done a clever thing with the design. From the outside, the Dolphin Surf is what I'd call friendly. There's no fake grills or aggressive angles. It's all rounded corners, soft edges, and a cheerful face. It makes people smile. It looks more like a concept car from 2010 than a modern EV, and that's not a bad thing. There's personality here. Inside, it's clear they paid attention to how people use their cars. The cup holders are actually deep enough to hold a bottle. The door bins swallow a liter of water. The phone tray has a soft lining so your screen won't get scratched. There's USB-A and USB-C. Even wireless charging if you go for a higher trim. And this is a 19,000-pound car. Just let that sink in. The numbers that matter. Let's talk numbers, because they matter in this category. 137 miles in the base model might not sound like a lot, but for urban use, it's perfect. School runs, work commutes, weekend supermarket hauls, all done on one charge. If you've got access to a 7 kilowatts home charger, you'll wake up every day to a full tank. The 43 kilowatt-hour battery in the Boost stretches that range to nearly 200 miles. That's enough to get you from Manchester to London with one short top-up. Charging itself is refreshingly fast. 30% to 80% in about half an hour on a fast charger. That's quicker than some cars twice the price. And the running costs? Ridiculously low. We're talking less than 5p per mile in electricity. Service intervals are longer, insurance bands are lower, and with regenerative braking, even your brake pads will last longer. If ever there was a car that made financial sense, it's this one. Second car? Think again. Many will think of the Dolphin Surf as a second car, something to accompany the SUV or estate sitting on the driveway. But I reckon this will become the car. The one you reach for daily. The one you end up preferring. The one that's easy to park, costs nothing to run, and never says no. It reminds me of old VW Polos and Peugeot 100 and SI XS. Cars that didn't make a fuss, didn't shout for attention, but ended up doing all the work. And doing it well. Safety built in. For all the talk of simplicity, BYD hasn't skimped on safety. The high-strength steel percentage, 68%, is something you'd expect in a Volvo brochure. Crash avoidance tech is baked in, lane keeping assist, auto emergency braking, blind spot monitoring. The 4-star safety target might sound modest, but remember, this is based on today's extremely tough Euro NCAP standards. The Dolphin Surf does the business in all the key categories: adult protection, child safety, and tech support. And with 3 ISOFIX points, this car is family ready from day one. Soon to be built in Europe. A huge bit of news, this: production's moving to Hungary. Why is that important? Well, 2 reasons. First, it avoids any Brexit-related tariffs, which keeps prices down for us. Second, it shows that BYD is serious about Europe. They're not dipping a toe. They're diving in. That should give buyers peace of mind. Parts will be easier to get. Service networks will grow. Resale values will likely hold strong. We're looking at the early days of what could become the continent's biggest EV maker. That's how quickly BYD is growing. The right car for the right time. There's something very 2025 about the Dolphin Surf. It's not about excess. It's not trying to compete with Teslas on torque or Mercedes on luxury. It's about getting the fundamentals right. Simple, clean, honest, electric. And that makes it the perfect answer to the mess of rising fuel costs, inner-city bans, and overcomplicated cars that require more software updates than your phone. Dolphin versus the rest. You might be wondering how it compares with the likes of the Dacia Spring, Leapmotor T03, or even the Renault 5 E-Tech. Here's a straight-talking breakdown. Dacia Spring, cheaper, but feels it. Lower power, slower charging, rougher finish. Okay as a runabout, but no comparison in quality or comfort. Leapmotor T03 looks good on paper, but the driving dynamics and cabin quality fall short. BYD's extra polish makes a big difference. Renault 5 E-Tech, charming, but pricier. You're paying for nostalgia and brand, not necessarily better value. So yes, for the money, the Dolphin Surf is unmatched. Final verdict: get one while you can. There's no flashy ad campaign. No celebrity endorsements. Just a genuinely well-made, well-priced, well-thought-out car. The sort of car we used to get a lot of in the 90s and 2000s, before everything went upmarket and overcomplicated. You don't need to be an EV enthusiast to love this. You just need to want a solid, sensible, usable car that doesn't empty your wallet. And if you're quick, you can still find dealers doing introductory offers. Some bundling home chargers, some chucking in free servicing. Ask around. All in all, the BYD Dolphin Surf is more than a good small car. It's a reminder of how good small cars should be. Not just a second car. Possibly the smartest car you can buy in 2025.